Well, looky. A lot of trouble coming into this room. And I'm not just saying that because Denise and Stuart is in the house. I mean, I'm not saying that. When I see trouble in a room, I definitely always will have to say, wherever there's Denise, there's a Stuart. So good to see you guys, man. It's so great to see you, Stuart, with that beard. That looks perfect for you, man. That looks fantastic. I love it. I love it. It's been a long time. What's up, Mark Jean? Money Machine. It's good to see you, Nima. I know we got a lot of people coming in here. If you're hearing my voice and you don't see my face, it's only because you're not on camera. But I want to make sure I just begin by saying you are in the right place. We are really anxious to get started. You are now live in the Real Estate Wealth Lab. We are having an event, and it is tonight. We are live right now on Zoom. We're live on LinkedIn. We're live on Facebook. And we're live on YouTube. And should you not know what any of those are, I suggest strongly that you Google them and get to understand that these things do live on a place called the internet. So that right now I see a couple people fumbling around like, what's YouTube? Well, what do you mean we're live on LinkedIn? What does that mean? But hey, listen, all kidding aside, folks, this is Richard Dolan that you're hearing. I'm happily co-hosting this alongside my dear friend Ken and Naran. These guys are the ones who have been running, driving, and keeping together all things REWL. And for those who don't know, I mean, REWL has been now nearly 2 years in the making, our approach to next level real estate conversation. We're a bunch of guys and gals who've done real well in real estate and want to talk about what's new, what's now, what's next. We're not interested in the old news. We're not interested in the historical views. We're interested in what's new, what's now, what's next. So I know there's a lot of folks coming in on here. And before I get to those who are going to be featured tonight on really talking about the future of the technology and the data and the capabilities that makes you a faster, more successful investor, because I don't know about you, but I certainly don't want to spend more time building wider, deeper, wider reaching portfolios that takes up a lot of my bandwidth, resources, and time away from the things I love. And that's why we invited my dear friend and REWLs dear friend, John Asher from All Things Confidence. I know he's in the house, dialing in from Toronto. We also have in the house Gary Fuchs, who is the man, the mind behind 812 Mortgage. And between the two of these two gentlemen, they truly have, and if you're writing down notes, I'd write this term down because it frames the conversation in the game. And that is they've reimagined real estate investing. That's right, reimagined. I mean, just think to yourself the last time you did anything that was reimagined. I'm sure you never thought 20 years ago you'd be watching videos from your phone. You never thought 20 years ago that you could actually watch a movie without rewinding it. I can imagine that 20 years ago, you never thought you'd be listening to books on Apple. There's a lot of things 20 years ago we didn't think we'd have. 20 years ago, I didn't think that Stuart would have such an incredible beard. I would have never imagined that. But some things come to pass because if you give the world some time, it is magic. So guys, if you're just dialing in, if you're just joining us, it's Richard Dolan here. So delighted as the Chief Growth Officer of All Things Real Estate Wealth Lab. I'm joined by Ken, the Chief Technical Officer. I always thought he was the chief tactics officer because he just runs running back with all of our teammates. But I also have here Naran Kulathungam in the house. He's the company's CLO, the chief leadership officer. I know there's a lot of familiar faces in here. And if you're dialing in from somewhere in the city, across the province or the country or in another part of the world, put yourself in the chat room. I want to know. I want to know if Christian is in Scotland. I want to know where Chuck Lees is. I want to know where Christine Zhu is. I want to know where Chris Moxham in the house. I want to know where he is in the world. I know he's always moving, shaking, and baking. I know Carolina's here, and I know Darcy's here. I see Dario and David. I see Elizabeth, Eric, and Eunice. I know that Edmonton's in the house because the Speedos are gone and the bikinis are tucked away. Winter is coming. I know Edmonton's in the house. Ottawa in the house. I see you guys. I see Jenny J. Deep. I see Ian Hawking. What's up, Ian? So good to see you, man. It's good to see Jim in the house and Ken Dodds in the house. Ken Leung in the house. Kyle Guthrow, fresh from the red carpet. Happy to see you made some time for your old family, your friends, those who, well, quite frankly, championed you. dare I say, spiced you up, marinated you, made you who you are. And I do mean the sexy stuff of you, the one that we make. By the way, for those who don't know, Kyle Guthrie by far is the world's reigning champion of the sexiest real estate investor I've come to meet and know. So I'm sorry that title is no longer yours, Naran, nor yours, John. We're going to get to you in a second. Lee Hodgers, what's up? Loria's in the house. Maria, what's up there? Marianne, Meddi, it's good to see you. Miguel Morley, Nancy, Naomi. It's great to have Nito and Peter, Rachel, and Robert Iaqueta. What's up, heavyweight? It's good to see you, man. And of course, I'm not talking about how much you weigh, but what you mean to us. It's good to have you, man. Roya, what's up? Shara and Sherpad and Stanley. What's up, Stevie? It's good to see you, Mr. Wonder. Wendy Burke in the house and Vadim. And gosh, I can't keep up. Guys, we've gone live. We're going to get started. We have an incredible conversation to have with you tonight. It's so important. I want to see where everyone is right now. I want to say hello to those in Ottawa. Of course, I've got a soft spot for Ottawa because if it wasn't for you guys, I simply wouldn't have ever known where the country's capital was. I'm grateful for having been brought out there by you, Stuart and Denise. It's great to see you guys here as always. It's great to have Morley here. It's great to have Vernon in the house. Vernon, BC. We've got Vancouver, Markham. We got Armstrong, BC. We got Vancouver, Kitchener. What's up, J-Deep? We got Calgary. We've got Edmonton. And by the way, I'm praying for those kids in Calgary. I hope those kids are all good. Those kids that came into contact with some serious viral infections. Gosh, that was scary. I would hate to be a parent around that time. But listen, we can't go through the whole list, but if you're here, we appreciate you. Richard Dolan here with my dear friends, Ken N. Naran, the Chief Leadership Officer, the Chief Technical Officer, the folks who've been driving the creation of a real estate wealth lab. And I mean, let me just say it straight. For those who might recall who I am, know who I've been an accomplished author for over 20 years. I've written 14 books. I'm a visiting professor at Schulich School of Business, and I love talking about money, and largely because I love making it. I'm delighted to have called myself the president of the world's greatest real estate investment club, and that is REIN, the Real Estate Investment Network. And so if you're here because of them, if you're here because of that experience with me, please trust and know I've always thought of you, and I always love all things REIN. It's good to have you here should that be the case. And we're delighted to talk about all things REWL, because after my years of being as a president and leader of REIN, well, we always thought to ourselves, what was now, what was new, and what was next? And I've got to admit, we kind of just went into automatic mode. We thought to ourselves, let's just cruise. Let's just grow our curricula. Let's save what we've got and let's move on from where we were. And so with my team and I, we all still looked at each other and wondered, but how? And we started to share with each other notes, our journals, the conversations we were having. And we found that there was one universal truth that we could not avoid and or denounce. And you know what it was? Guess what it was? I know what you're thinking. How do you manage these portfolios more effectively and efficiently? Well, there's a solution for that. Or how do I, in fact, find ways to refinance these properties so I can pull some equity out and put it back to work? And that was one of them too. But the reality was, and we found that as the success became who we were, as we grew our portfolios and stabilized them, automated them, made them, well, manageable, we began to wonder, how do we scale? But here's the catch, the universal statement we all made. How do we do it faster? Because who would agree, by giving me a thumbs up, wherever you are right now with real estate, it's taken you quite some time. Wouldn't you agree? It's taken us some time. It's taken us a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of effort. And by the way, just by way of sharing with you our screen, I want to share with you something that's so important, because we prepared something we want you to see, and we want you to take notes. We call these the Serious Six. We know that what it takes for you to build a portfolio, no matter what stage or age you're at, you need a lot of time. You also need a lot of luck. You need luck to get access. I don't know about you, but I got friends and family members, colleagues and associates who will call me when there's a great deal. And depending on where I am in their pecking order, they'll call me either last or first. You need to have knowledge to assess. You need to know how do I look at a market, an opportunity, whether it's a single family up and down and or a multifamily that I should then be considering in a high density area. You need to have the ability to perform analysis, the freedom to focus, and of course, most importantly, money to make it happen, right? Either yours, someone else's, or something to borrow. But those six are serious. And what I've come to learn, and I want you to take a picture of this so you never forget this conversation, the older we get, the more serious these become. The less time we have, the less lucky we feel, The less knowledge we feel we've got, the less ability we have to perform analysis, the less freedom we have to focus. Heck, folks, I only got 50 minutes with you because between you and I, John Asher, his wife's expecting him for dinner. So we got to get to work soon, right? But my point is all of those things become serious. So in other words, dependent upon stage and dependent upon age, depending on stage and depending upon age, these grow more serious. So what you've got to do, and here comes the word, and I want you to write it down, especially if you're a first-time real estate investor, if you're already accomplished or you're mature and you get this already, the word, the theme, the solution to the universal challenge that we had, right, fellas and ladies, was compression. Write that down. And I'm not talking about the kind of socks that John Asher wears on long hauls in the air. I'm talking about compression as in, how do I shorten the amount of time? How do I create access real quick? How do I compress knowledge to assess on a whim, the ability to perform analysis within minutes? How do I get the freedom that's measured by minutes and not days, months, or years so I can get the money to make it happen? Thank you, Gary Fuchs, the future of all things financing. So what we know and why we're here is this is not about just AI, artificial intelligence. This is not us versus them. This is not another film by James Cameron called Terminator. We need to make sure we understand that the only things that hinder on our ability to grow and protect, preserve, and have perform a portfolio of real estate is you've got to get rid of, and here it comes, I want you to take note of it, personal bias. And as I talk to John and Gary Fuchs tonight on the futurization of real estate investing, one of the things they're going to touch on is why personal bias steers us wrong. Personal preference. You know, I've got some properties over here, actually, I want you to see, rather than the ones that you really should be looking at. I don't currently represent those. Personal preference. Personal properties. Heck, if I bought a whole bunch of properties down on the other side of the railroad tracks, I certainly won't be talking about ones on the opposite side of the railroad tracks. I want my properties to go up, not those properties to go up. Personal perspective, personal opinion, and personal conclusions. So what we know, and for certain, is this, is that when it comes to AI, I want you to write this down. Artificial intelligence is, well, gosh, it's this. This is artificial. But should intelligence come out of it, I taught it that. Siri knows what I listen to. She knows what I like. So if I were to say, hey, Siri, play music I'll really like.
Okay, here's a station just for you on Apple Music.
Now, she's playing some Drake, which makes complete sense because I'm from the 6. But here's the point. Based on the algorithm of music I've been listening to in the past day or so, that's the best choice that she's made for me. Y'all get that? Give me an okay? There's nothing artificial about it. Artificial intelligence is actually, I think, right, John? Right, Gary? I think it's misnamed. I think it should be digital intelligence, which is to say that what we have is empowered technology, which is artificial, to scour thousands, if not millions or trillions of data points to create digital intelligence so we can get to answers quickly. Remember, this is the age of compression. If you forgot, just think of compression socks. Want to go long and far? Wear those socks. Not everywhere, by the way. I mean, just when you're flying, but I mean, no, I'm not going to stop you if you wear them anywhere else. You can wear them to meetings. You can wear them to bed. And for what? I don't care, because that's not the kind of conversation we're having tonight. This is a PG-13 conversation. So don't laugh there, Naran. I know where you're going with that. So with all kidding aside, this is why we have John Asher and Gary Fuchs here. I mean, John Asher, to make a proper introduction to my dear friend, this is a man who understands and appreciates the futurization of real estate. I mean, when we actually understood that AI, artificial intelligence, was not just a game changer, but a game alternator to not just shift and recreate the real estate investment landscape, but to reinvent it. And it was because John's firm, Confidence, based in Toronto, run by dear friends of ours, provides actionable insights in real world examples. So if you were wondering for yourself, well, hold on a second, Rich, I've heard a bit about AI lately, and I understand that this is important. So John, I'm going to come to you and say this statement and tell me if you agree. The reality is this. If you want to be successful at real estate, there is one game you should play. And you know what that game is? It's called the volume play. And what I mean by the volume play is based on the number of deals you assess, it should determine then the number of deals you should do. If you don't get that first multiplier up, if you don't perform the analysis you need, you will not do well in real estate. So what do you need to do that, right, John? You're going to need that time. You're going to need the access. You're going to need the knowledge to assess, the ability to perform analysis, all that stuff. And guess what? As we grow older, we become Ubers. You all know what I'm talking about. As we grow older, we become Ubers. Who here by show of hands has been running their kids around since the beginning of September, right? Practice, workouts, school. We're busy. We're busy being Ubers. And there's nothing wrong being Ubers, by the way. It's a respectable job and vocation for many. But all the point is this, is that now the time it used to take to build your portfolio can be compressed, not because of AI, but powered by AI. And I like that. And I like that a lot. John, as a segue, as a welcome, tell me, do you agree?
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I was just thinking, if I had to Uber anywhere, I'd much rather be going to see my kids play and be successful or learn, and a whole lot less driving to go see properties that I don't like. How about that?
No, I like that you said that, but back to the point. I mean, what you've done at Confidence is quite remarkable. What you know is that when it comes to scouring the market, when it comes to analyzing and research, when it comes to calculating, right, doing the math, and then submitting the offers, it takes time, it takes energy, it takes expertise, and my God, as a president of a very successful real estate investment network, I've got to tell you, that's time we no longer have. I think that we're at a different part in the arc of our existence. Maybe 20 years ago, I would mind putting in that time. But right now, in my late 40s, I mean, I wouldn't mind having some of that time back. Stop laughing, folks. I am in my late 40s. Believe it or not, thanks to night creams and exfoliation, I still look this way. Right, Denise? But all kidding aside, John, would you not agree? Is this not the time for people to not mix words? This is not about what philosophy works. This is about what performance matters, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Well, that's the shortest, most succinct answer I've ever gotten after a real long statement like that. But it's like, what else could you add? I mean, from my perspective, tell me, when it comes to what your technology, what your team has done, what does it do on a daily basis that people should know?
Yeah. So just to give you a quick background on myself, 20 years in financial services, always investing in alternative assets, always loving residential real estate. Very difficult to acquire, because when you look at the total universe of everything that's available to you to understand exactly what you want to put in your portfolio, it becomes daunting. We felt like technology is the only way in which you can analyze hundreds of thousands of properties all at the very same time to be able to understand where you want to be investing. Confidence's single mission is to make sure that we put eyeballs onto every property that hits MLS and analyze it in real time so that we can understand if this is going to fit our investment strategy and our portfolios, or if we simply just move on. And we want to do that fast, quick, right through all the way to bidding.
Well, and what I like about that, and I want you to write this down, folks, it's important to write this down because I want you to retain some of the things that we're talking about tonight, to not just reinvigorate, refire, or perhaps define for you how to retire effectively your portfolio that matters most to you. But what I love is that data doesn't lie. And the way Confidence works is that you guys are tapped into the kind of data centers that must produce with somewhat accuracy and legitimacy and an immeasurable amount of efficacy what's required so that we can make real informed decisions fast. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, that's exactly right. The way I look at data, we were making some jokes before, data is everything. Being able to understand what rental rates are doing, being able to understand what house prices are doing, being able to understand where there's arbitrage opportunities between fast moving rents and slow moving pricing. The only solution for it that we could come up with was a technology solution. And that is exactly what we've built here with Confidence.
Well, what I love about the whole idea of what you've built, and by the name, I mean, I know there's some people in there right now already saying, well, what is it called and what is it named? It's like, who cares what it's called? It works and it's coming. And folks, we have an offer for you. We've got to time this out. You're like at a Vegas show. We're not going to pull the rabbit out of the hat quite yet at the beginning of the night. You got to give me some time. You got to give us some pace. But what I love, John, is that what you've done is you've empowered the new era of today's real estate investor, who are generally in the world of REWL, what we've been seeing, busy professionals, people who are very active parents, folks who are capable and willing to mobilize money, but they do not have the time, and they certainly don't have the training, and they don't have the confidence to actually, no pun intended, by the way, but they don't have the confidence to really conduct the analysis, the research, and do the due diligence, if it were, to really understand if they're looking in the right place. Is that the problem confidence solves? Is that what you guys have really set out to do and have accomplished well?
Yeah, I think with my own personal frustrations with investing is that I didn't want to fall victim to somebody else's opinion or someone else's thought process. I didn't want to worry about making sure I understood all neighborhoods. When we've built our portfolios with our investors, what I want to make sure is that I understand their investment strategy, and then make sure that we can deploy that strategy in the best way absolutely possible. So if you're a buy and hold investor, then there's going to be different things that become important to you. Cash flowing properties make sense. So show me where there are cash flowing properties. If your strategy is a fix and flip or a conversion or some sort of value add project, show me where there are properties with the highest potential to actually execute on that. And the problem is when you open up the MLS, that tool is useless. It's not designed for investors. When you want to understand what the return is for a particular home, the tools that I'm given are useless. I'm not going to flip between 4 or 5 different rental websites to maybe find a property that's quasi close to what I'm looking for. I want to know exactly what I'm looking for. And I want to be able to analyze that property very, very quickly, because in high-paced marketplaces, the property's gone before you've had a chance to even crunch all your numbers.
Well, I want to not only affirm what you're saying, and if you're just joining us, we're here with John Asher, one of the founding principals, one of the most incredible minds, a very long historical figure in the world of finance, investment, and wealth management. That's John Asher we're seeing. So good to see you, my friend. And to Napal's point, he said John's tech is about agility and speed, and real estate, he says, is about speed these days. And he's absolutely right. Back in the old days, it was all about shaking hands and kissing babies. It was about knowing who you needed to know, getting access to the deals, and knowing them before others did. Today, it's about speed. And what I love, and I want you to write this down, folks, especially if you're a coach, if you raise money, if you've been rallying resources from within communities, this whole innovation in the world of tech is leveling the playing field. Gone are the days of this being a very personal driven, like a personality driven conversation and era. It's a financial one. This is all about math. It's no longer about magic. It's all about the math, and it's no longer about the magic. It's not about knowing someone and having a great contact and going to the right places and networking like the old days. And by the way, the old days just kind of ended like last Tuesday. Like they're not that far behind us. It's about the data. John, tell me how true that is.
Yeah. So when I think about properties, I think about neighborhoods, I'm completely agnostic to all of those. I really don't care. What I care about is, what is the rent potential? What is the price of the property? What are the growth rates of that community? What are the demand notes for that type of property? And those are all data points. And they all then point me towards where I should be making my investments. I think it's almost crazy to think about the process of going and building all those relationships to maybe see a property come up that fits my needs. I want to know, with like a zero inbox mentality, if there's 1,000 new listings that came on the market today, how do I put eyes on all 1,000 with my analysis and my details to make sure that it's going to be right for me? Because there's probably 2 or 3 that I should be seeing, and someone else is going to see them quick, and I need to beat them to the punch.
You know, John, as I keep your line open, and I want to go over to Gary Fuchs, because if you're writing down notes, folks, I don't know if you're noticing that I'm a real limerick kind of character. I mean, I said the term math over magic, but once you've got the magic, then there's magic in the money. And Gary Fuchs being the founder and the mind, the genius, and the driving force behind 812. I mean, gosh, Gary, we met during the pandemic. I was mesmerized by what you had found. I said, but gosh, we can't talk to nobody yet because, well, we're kind of all behind closed doors and hiding behind masks, and we're 6 feet apart. What's amazing about what you do is, again, in the spirit of, what's the magic word for the night, folks? Compression, right? Compression. You compress people's search to find the best financial solution to finance properties once they've got full view of them. Tell us a bit about 812 and why it's so radically different, and how true it is you've reimagined financing for investors.
Yeah, thanks very much, Rich. So a lot of the key terms that you're saying today, all come together. So you're saying things like volume, leverage, that Uber experience, compression, and speed wins in our business, right? Gone are the days where you have an hour, a week, a month. You got to make decisions quickly, because if you're not, that next person standing there and jumping on that opportunity. So here at 812, we took kind of a similar approach that John took with Confidus, and really taken all the data, all the mortgage, matrix and numbers and math, and really refined it to give you that solution, as quickly as possible. I'll give you a quick example, Rich. 5 years ago, you called me and say, hey, Gary, what's your best 5-year fix? And before you finished your sentence, I would give you a quote. I got to ask you 14, 15 different questions today just to figure out the product, right? And there's about 7,000 products and policies and guidelines across Canada. You're not going to be able to do that, no matter how experienced you are, without the data sets to figure out that solution in real time, right? So just like you get your Uber and you see that progress bar, you should be buying your investment property today the same way. You should be getting your mortgage the same way. It should be in seconds, and you should be able to track it in real time to know that you're getting the best possible solution.
Well, remember, folks, if you're tracking this, this is Gary Fuchs, founder of 812 Mortgage, one of the masterminds behind the most imaginative and futurized financing solution for investors. We're talking about speed. We're talking about agility. We're talking about compressing and shortening the arc from starting in real estate to your first property, or being in real estate and getting to your 100th property. Time is not our friend, and money's our greatest resource, but data is the magic. So as we've been saying, this is no longer a personal gain. This is a financial one. And getting straight to the math, you've got to remove the man. I don't mean to sound sexist, but to get straight to the math, you've got to remove the man. And what I mean by that is, gone are the days of being very dependent. And this is what I've realized, right, John? Right, Gary? I've recognized that, I don't have to stay in good relations with my realtor or my mortgage guy who's always pulling a good one for me. I don't have to stay friendly to people who are finding me deals and getting me the front of the line when I've got an AI that's searching according to my presets what exact deals I'm looking for, what markets and price points. And I've got my finger on the button called Gary Fuchs, where the minute I secure a deal, I can have you run the numbers across your entire system and let the machine do the work. Y'all catching this so far? Give me a thumbs up. Now tell me how accurate that is, Gary, and what kind of a deal changer is that for the real estate investor of tomorrow?
Yeah, so John's gonna find you the properties you want to buy, the properties, the cash flow. My job is to find you the money, right? And in today's world, when you go traditional banks, traditional lenders, they're gonna limit your portfolio number, right? And you're gonna make money. You said it before. You said volume, right? Volume of property. So we want to unlock the equity and allow you to grow that portfolio. And we're able to do that, with an over 95% approval efficiency rate, right? And that's very valuable in today's market. So you don't have to spend weeks and months searching for a property. You do it in seconds or in minutes with John. You don't have to spend weeks and months trying to figure out if you get it financed. You do it in hours or days, with 812.
Well, and by the way, just because I want to be responsible, I mean, I don't know if you knew this, Gary and John, I said this earlier on. I was the former president of the world's most epic real estate investment group I've ever come to see and know, called REIN, the Real Estate Investment Network. It's where the most epic real estate investment goals were realized for over 30 years. What an epic memory for me, and what a beautiful blessing it was to be a part of that community. Of which, by the way, if you were a REIN member, just say hello to me. I want to see a thumbs up there in the chat room. I've missed you. I've missed being in front of you, and I've missed your energy. And in particular, had I known that Stuart was going to grow a beard this fancy, I would have stuck around a little longer just to see that beard come true. Because I never thought he had any facial hair, folks. I got to be honest with you. What's up, Roya? Good to see you. So with that being said, fellas, I don't know if you knew this, but what I realized back in the time, the world of traditional real estate investing was very personality driven. It was very personality driven. It was very personality dependent. And so what happens is in that old traditional model, we grew very dependent on those relationships because they had, here it comes, guys, proprietary access, proprietary intelligence. They had captive wisdom. They had numbers I couldn't access. They had a knowledge I couldn't know. Is this tracking okay? Give me an okay. Yeah, this is tracking okay. Give me an okay. All right, that's what an okay looks like. Give me an okay. Good. So with that being said, by the way, my nephews and nieces love me. I do that all the time. The problem is that they're 14 and 16. They're like, look, stop using the okay sign. We're okay. I said, okay, just okay. And they're like, really, Uncle Rich, we're good. So what I'm saying, why I'm excited is that since I left the real estate investment educational space and when REWL was erected, it began out of the concern among really mature investors like Naran Kalathungam, Kyle Guthrow, our dear friend Louie, our friends Stuart and Denise, our other friends like Nima, and of course the big fella, Rob Iaketa, Ken Klinoff-Tatakis, and I mean the rest of us understood that the future of real estate investing needed to aid us where we did not want to be dependent on personalities, and we did not want to feel hostage that someone else had the controls. John, Gary, I don't know who to ask this question of, but what's the net experience you've been having while you're doing bids and finding solutions for investors? Are they not feeling that they're more in control than ever before?
Yeah, well, why don't I start? So one of the things that we really like is our high frequency bidding software, which really puts the control into the buyer's hands. You know, if there's 20 properties that I like, well, let's go out and bid on all 20. If there's an event that we can see where all of a sudden rents have shifted quite quickly, you know, we have that knowledge. We can see it. Prices are still going to move quite slowly. But from a buyer's perspective, as soon as all those signals fire, go and invest, yes, you can move so much more faster. What I find is that it empowers buyers, that they see the deals, they're not missing out on anything that's new, and then software that can really make sure that they can get in front of sellers.
I love that. Gary, any comments?
Yeah, I'd say one of the biggest reactions you're going to see when we deal with a newer investor is shock and awe. Because they go to their, traditional financing institutions and they're told, hey, you can buy one investment property. We're here for you. And then all of a sudden they come to us and we can, 3, 4, 5x that buying power. And they never thought something like that could exist. So that shock and awe where you can actually achieve your dreams, as John said, empower you to build that real estate portfolio. That's the game changer. And, the rest is history, as they say.
I love it. I love it. I mean, if you're just tuning in, it's Richard Dolan here. I'm the Chief Growth Officer of the Real Estate Wealth Lab. It's a 2-year-old initiative that was built for real estate investors by real estate investors. The number one thing that the group shares in common is that all of us manage our own portfolios of doors. And every day we compare the size of our holdings with one another. Sounds funny. I'm just joking. We don't do that. But all kidding aside, we're delighted to have you here. Ken's here, Naran's here, Kyle's here, Louie's here. Our friends from Ottawa, Denise and Stuart are here, Nima's here. And more importantly, we're joined live by John Asher, co-founder at Confidence, the epicenter, the nucleus, the ethos to an artificial intelligent robo-realtor is what we've kind of come to call it. And Gary Fuchs, the mind and the genius behind 812 Mortgage, who've really revolutionized the way and the speed in which people can access financing solutions for real estate investments. We're so delighted you two gentlemen have joined us tonight, and everybody has joined us here tonight. If you've just joined us, we asked this earlier on, put yourself in the comment section. Let us know where you are. We've got Vancouver and Calgary and Edmonton here. We've got Ottawa and Coquitlam here. We've got friends from Yellowstone. We've got people in from Miami. We've got Beverly Hills here, Scotland here. We've got people from a lot of, actually around the world, quite frankly, that are here. As far as Markham, believe it or not, and as wide as Ajax, we even got there. Good to see Parth in the house. Welcome, my friend. So back to us and why we're here in the 25 minutes we've got left. The conversation tonight has really been about, I'm a real estate investor. Either I'm just getting started, I want to grow, or I want to really blow it up. And what I want to say as the former president of a real estate investment network is that at one point we used to, John, Gary, I swear, we used to talk like this. We used to say that you can be all you can be as a real estate investor. And I've got to admit, as a former trainee and an aide to Tony Robbins of 7 years, as someone who's worked with Oprah Winfrey and Ellen DeGeneres, not such a nice person, but I got to tell you, I was a part of that betterment movement. Y'all get that? Like, I was a part of that world. And I got to say that if you become a great real estate investor, you might just become a great person. In learning who you can be and becoming the best you can be capable of and growing rich in the things that matter, and all this stuff tracks well. But I got to be honest. When you make a lot of money, all that stuff becomes meaningless. Because if you can provide for your kids, quit the job you can't stand, and do the stuff you love, you become a better person. So here's my point. I think we got it wrong. I don't think real estate investing should be an existential exercise. This is not about becoming a greater person. This is about becoming a richer person. It's a financial exercise. And what you want to do is compress your learning curve, compress your tools, and compress the way in which you can get into the market super fast, uber easy. And John, that's evidenced by the fact that when you launched your platform, the first clients you began to attract were the institutional clients, the ones who've got the big money, who represent hundreds, if not thousands of investors saying, look, we know real estate's the way to go. We have no time to look for deals, do the analysis, and manage the calculations. Can you do it? Is that not true?
Yeah, that's true. And some of the stories that we used to hear were, we used to hear these crazy horror stories where they were buying, multiple properties a week, closing on the wrong house. Because when they were working with their network of realtors, they bid on the same street, wrong number. And so when it came time to closing, they were like, oh my God. Other horror stories, missing closings altogether. And so what we really quickly found was like, wow, you seriously need to have a whole bunch of tools, not only just to analyze those properties, not only just to assess where do we want to deploy capital, but all the way through on the acquisition, step by step, all the way through. You got to make sure you're controlling the whole thing. And yes, the institutions have been great because they are a very, very tough client. It has to be absolutely perfect. And this is why we wanted to join with you guys, because it's time for individuals to take advantage of that.
Well, one of the things I want to go live, I just went live on Instagram. If you've got an Instagram handle handy, you've got a phone handy, come on in there. We want to make sure we record this conversation because I want to get real with you right now. I'm getting a lot of comments in the direct messages, hidden messages, where there's some folks who are saying, hey, Rich, I disagree. Real estate is about wealth and not rich. So let's get clear on something, because I'm a huge student of living your greatest financial life possible. And I would determine that a financial life is measured by 3 metrics. Y'all ready for this? Here comes a micro conversation that will move mountains with meaning. Number 1 is, when it comes to your financial life, you measure it in 3 ways. 1 is money. When you've got more money, you can buy more shit. You can buy stuff, gas, food, things. Money is a currency. You can live on the cash, you can have the currency, or you can also borrow it. You can have credit. You can get to Gary Fuchs and find it real cheap. You get what I'm saying? So just because you have a lot of money doesn't mean you have a great financial life. What you also can measure great financial life is by wealth. When you've got wealth, that's the shiny stuff. That's the house, the car, the nicer things. You drive a Beamer, but would love a Lamborghini. You've got a 1-bedroom, but wouldn't mind a 5, right? You go play golf, but you wouldn't mind joining a really great country club. So having a lot of wealth, though, doesn't mean you've got a lot of money. I've met a lot of people who've got a lot of wealth. They ain't got no money. There are a lot of my friends who say, hey, Rich, I forgot my wallet. Would you mind picking up tonight's tab? Believe me, I know who you are. But all kidding aside, is wealth and rich, as in money, aren't the things that matter most. It's worth. And I want you to write that word down and circle it. Worth is measured by the power and freedom of choice and the power to choose what you want with the time you got. That's what it's all about. And as we get older, we want more what? Not more money, not more wealth, but we want more worth. We want more time with the things that we want to do them with, and we want to do with the people in which we want to do them with. So when you create a life, a financial life that has lots of money, lots of wealth, and lots of worth, we know that they're driven by the state and stage in your life. The older we get, the less money matters. The less that money matters and wealth is established, the more worth you're able to afford. You all get that? So in real estate investing, all of you've got to know that the richer you become in real estate, the more it affords you to have access to more money, more wealth, and more worth. And over time, as you finance your portfolio correctly and you pull out the equity in which you've got, because you're following the AI algorithms and you understand what the data is saying, and you're following Gary Fuchs' advice and getting the financing you need, you get to be left with, at the right stage and state in your life, the kind of worth you really want. So here comes the overarching statement. I want to see if Gary agrees. It's not about getting rich with money or with wealth or with any one particular thing. It's about growing richer in the one of those things that matter most to you and determining that now. Does that make sense, everybody? Give me a thumbs up. Gary, what do you think?
1000%.
Well, that was a short answer. Thanks for buying me all that time so I can sign off Instagram, man. That was so delicate of you. I mean, listen, all kidding aside, what I want to make sure is really clear is that I'm not suggesting that you shouldn't be able to become a better person in real estate. Here's what I'm saying. I don't have time to do a self-discovery conversation in myself. I'm not interested in becoming a great leader. I'm not interested in becoming a greater communicator. I'm not interested in becoming a better father because of real estate. I'm interested in one thing: growing richer in money, wealth, and worth by choosing real estate correctly, financing it swiftly, and moving on to the next deal as fast as possible. That's what I want to ask. Let me see if I can unmute Naran Kulathungam here. Naran, you're one of the most seasoned real estate investment advisors we know in the country. One of about 100 that I know that we've come to accredit over the years, and there's some that are here already that I know are one of those as well, a real estate investment advisor. But you're an accomplished mentor. You're a real estate coach. We've said a lot of things, and Napal, I love you, buddy. I'm grateful. Thank you. Love worth does matter. But tell me, how much would you agree with what's been stated, given the fact that you help real estate investors every day?
Well, Rich, what a great call. Every time I've sat down and spoken to real estate investors or want to be investors, people generally intuitively know that real estate is one of, if not the best and safest vehicle to grow their money in, to grow their wealth in, and to grow their worth in. However, what ends up happening is that people get stuck because, the world, especially now, feels highly complicated. Financially, it is complicated. From a financing perspective, it feels very complicated. From an economic perspective, it is extremely complicated to figure out, should I buy this property? Should I buy that one? How do I know what my return is going to be? What's the future going to look like? And that uncertainty, then I find, forces investors and want to be investors to stay stuck. What I love about this conversation is that we are at the starting of a wave of being able to ride these tools that both Gary and John have created and what they represent. That's going to allow everyday people and people with high net worth to actually leverage their capital in order to make money. Because what that happens is, the biggest thing that I run up into with people, Richard, is that people want this feeling of space in their life. And they confuse making money with providing that freedom internally and in their relationships. What money does is it takes away the pressure so that as that grows, you can focus in on what really matters.
No, I love that you said that. And I want to point something out, because what everyone is really, truly writing me right now as I'm seeing comments from Jill. Jill's like, Rich, I really appreciate your energy and I really appreciate what you're saying. I love that becoming richer in the things that matters to me and matters to you. And I appreciate that, Jill. Let me share with you guys something, because I think onto Naran's point, let me just go over here real quick. I want you all to see something, and I'm not doing a great job showing it, but as I get there, and here it is, I want you all to see something. As I said earlier on, as a result of what Work Confidence has done, this is not about us versus them. This is not about us versus the machines. This is about making sure we make this work smart for us. Make what we're looking at me and John and Gary Fuchs through smarter for us. We want to compress the arc of achievement, yes? So this is about being able to eliminate personal bias, personal preference, personal properties, personal perspective, personal opinion, and personal conclusions. I'm tired of being steered. And before I get to the point, because Naran, you hit on it, so hold on to it for a second. I remember at an organization I was a president of, because there was a massive overweighting of interest and investments in the West Coast. Guess what we always profiled? The West Coast. And we missed the greatest bull market rush of micro investments, condo construction, new construction, at a time when we saw the typical condo go from $326,000 on average to now cracking well over $700,000. Missed opportunity? You bet. But it was personal bias that shifted the view. It was personal preference, personal agenda, personal, because of personal properties, which shaped personal perspectives and personal opinions, and therefore personal conclusions. Yes? So what we know, based on driving your real estate investment aspirations, only powered by data, folks, write that down, only powered by data, you get to understand, you gain an ability to find a greater answer to your portfolio. And as we've seen in positive psychology, when you just do what's doable and you find yourself stretching, this goes right to your point, Naran, right? When you hit the stretch and you feel the danger, we retract, we go back, we retreat. You start the gym, you go to that gym, you start a new routine, and all of a sudden you feel pain and you stop going back, right? You feel the pains of growth. But if you push through there, you not only find possibility, but beyond possibility lives opportunity. And the only way to comfortably get there is to stop doing the work that the machines can do better for you, free of personality, free of judgment, free of, am I going to get this wrong? Am I even going to get this right? Oh my God, what am I going to do if I get this incorrect? Like, what's my wife going to say? What's my husband going to say? What's the bank's going to say? What will this mean? Remove that piece so you can hang out there. So my point, and I'm glad that you've afforded me this opportunity, Naran, is that when it comes to leaning more heavily on the machines that have been perfected by us to help us cut through the clutter so that we can live in the world of possibility, financially speaking, not existentially speaking, financially speaking, we get to say, wow, since I'm out here and in the safety of this device called AI, I'm going to find the best financial solution for my properties. I'm going to find the best properties that fit the profile. Gary, John, are we on the right track here?
Yeah. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, listen, I'm really liking all of this, because if I could think about even just the journey of building confidence, we went through a lot of pain, right? Because data doesn't just line up and show its beautiful self. You have to make sure it's working for you. Technology doesn't just build itself. And the other side of that pain, and I think the first time we ever met, I think my first 5 stories were about my frustration with trying to invest, and just it takes too long. I got to rely on too many people. But as we pushed through that pain and we flipped out onto the other side, then the opportunities, you can start to count them. You're like, wow, there's 10 properties over here that I have to look at today. There's 6 opportunities in that community that I should be looking at really closely. So I have to laugh, because that pain, I felt the pain. I felt the pain personally investing. I felt the pain personally trying to build the tech. But then once you're through it, yeah, you're just looking at the opportunities.
And not to correct what you're saying, I just want to backstop it before Gary starts. So we'll turn a page and start anew. But to the point, John, because I feel like what's happened, right, and especially for my friends who've been at this game for a long time, investing in real estate, helping others invest in real estate, coaching people to get into real estate. Here it comes. This is no longer the era of guesswork. This is the era of does work. And that's why I think you're laughing, John, because we're not talking about, hey, I trust her so much and I've seen them so long and I've consistently seen them on stage. They must know what they're doing. Or I've seen their book. They've published themselves. They're on a show and look at that brand and look at the association or look at all those doors. I've met people who own hundreds of doors that were the dumbest doors to possibly own because that was guesswork. And sometimes it was the conquering of the average. So we're moving, thanks to AI, I believe, Gary, I'm coming up to you. We're moving away from guesswork to does work. And that's why you're giggly, John, aside from the fact that you're happy to see me and I've missed you, buddy, because we got a golf. I owe you a golf round. Let's do it. But more importantly, it's because it does work. You've tried it. It's tested. It's true. It's taken you guys over $14 million and millions of man hours to perfect this technology. This is not just guesswork. It does work. Yeah. And Gary, you're a byproduct of it does work. Tell me more.
Yeah, so we didn't script this, Rich, right? So it's ironic
No.
that you use the term opportunity. And when I talk to people, I tell them all the time, I'm not in the mortgage business. I'm here to unlock opportunities for you. That's really what I do, right? The math is the math, the numbers are the numbers, but me providing you with that information so you can make the right educated decision in a timely fashion and look at more opportunities to make those decisions, that's where your success will come. You look at, Rich, you're friends with some of the greatest athletes in the world, right? Guys like Michael Jordan, LeBron. What makes them good is they get more touches, right? And you get enough touches, you're going to hit the shots that you need to hit. So our job, as you said before, is to compress the data that allows you to get more touches, which means you're naturally going to make better decisions and come out a winner.
Hey, listen, talking about touches, I mean, the only celebrity that's really here are the people that are on this particular night, right here with us. That's each and every one of you. Give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you so much for giving us some time tonight. In the 8 minutes we've got left, you got to know, we want to give you 3 days of touch. I love that Gary said that because it just tells you how highly affectionate we are. We like touching each other, don't we, Gary? Digitally. Digitally, guys, don't get your heads in the gutter. Digitally. But I mean, all kidding aside, as my dear friend Ken has said so properly, for AIR, right? The artificially intelligent realtor, we've built this platform for you to get a touch, to get a feel, to get a real warm, fuzzy feeling with our joint venture with our dear friends at Confidence, because we believe that knowledge has power and it controls access to opportunity and advancement. So at the end of the day, should you wish to find out what the trial is, you just go to this particular, I think you're going to put a link in there. Yes, Ken? You go on in there and you'll find that the link will give you active access to the tool, and it'll allow you to find out exactly how the tool works and what it'll do for you. So you click right here, and I'll click on it so I can show you what to see. It's not going to ask for your firstborn and or the keys to the car, but it's just a trial period where you get to access everything we've got, everything from accessing AIR itself, being able to have access to our rule book, a real estate investor starter's guide. That's yours for free. You're welcome. Everything from our plans to our updates. You get 3 days of understanding how this relationship can really work out. I mean, at the end of the day, we pay for a lot of things, but this thing, this very thing, is the right thing for you to have. Why? Because compression matters. You want to be able to understand that the arc of achievement, write that down, the arc of achievement need not be 17 months. There is no scientific proof nor empirical research that can prove it takes you 17 months to get into your first real estate door. Want to know why? Because if John sends me right now 3 deals that he's been assessing, and I call Gary and say, Gary, find me the best solution, it'll be done in 1 day, because I'm motivated to grow richer in the things that matter. Richer in money, richer in wealth, and richer in worth. And I am leaning more towards wealth and worth than I am ever before. I mean, at this stage and age in my life, I want more worth. I want more power, time, and freedom to have a laptop lifestyle, run my portfolio from wherever I want, but more on that another time. I mean, in the short few minutes we've got left, John, Gary, I'm going to go to John first and Gary last. John, tell me, when it comes to those who've watched this and will be watching the replay, as we celebrated the arrival of artificial intelligence present in the real estate investor's life, why is this such an important time in the history of real estate investors now? Why is this real estate investing reimagined? Why have you reinvented the game?
Well, I think why I love AI is I want to be doing the decision making. I don't want to be doing the crunching. You know what I mean? I want to let somebody or something else do the hard work for me, which is the analyzing, which is the number crunching, which is the solutionizing. And I want to be sitting back and objectively making the decision, which is truly better. I don't want to get caught in everything else. And we want AI to do that. We're finally at a stage now where it's intelligent enough where it can understand data sets, it can understand theory. And so we really are at this process and point in time where you can analyze hundreds of thousands of properties instantaneously. And I get to make the decisions.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that it's empowering truly the real estate investor with control and access and power. There are some differences. I know that there's various versions of what we're doing out there. If you want to learn what the differences are, what the unique advantages are, because we are using confidence a little bit different with a very different mindset and a very different view and perspective for you, try the 3-day trial and see for yourself what the difference is. I'm not here to sell anybody anything. You all know me traditionally. I'm not one to do that often. I'm here to convince you that you deserve a test drive. You deserve a test drive. 3-day trial. Hit the link that Ken's just put on the screen. Click on it. 3-day trial. There's no obligation and there's no hitches and or hooks within. Gary, tell me, man. I mean, of what you've built and how well it's done, you're on the same level playing field as John. You both have been pioneers, and here comes a world of new possibility. What excites you most about the future of real estate investors from the perspective you've got as the financier of the future?
Yeah. So Rich, you talk about, money, wealth, and worth. My worth comes from helping others build their money, their wealth, and their worth, right? So we built a platform that people can, achieve those 3 things. And then we achieve those 3 things once they have done that first. So the ability to scale that and help hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, achieve those dreams, through real estate, through the financing of that real estate, that's where we win on the back end. And that's what, warms me up inside, allows me to go home and spend more time with my family and my kids and do the things that I want to do by having that worth, is helping others achieve their worth first.
No, I love that. I love that. And I mean, in the few short minutes I've got, I definitely want to just ask my dear friend here, Ken. He's been the real driving force behind all of what we're doing. Ken, I want you to move yourself into this bulletin with me. I mean, for those who don't know, Ken has been the CEO of all things Real Estate Wealth Lab, but he is one of the most accomplished real estate investors who truly does wear the hearts of hundreds of real estate investors on his sleeves. All the technology we've built, all the IP that we've created, he leads with how does this better people's lives? And you want to know why? Because he's a real-time realtor and a real estate investor. And by the way, when I come across deals, guess who I punt them to? I punt them to him and say, what do you think? And what does he do? He runs it through this system. So Ken, tell me, brother, because you deserve to be heard as to why this matters. Why do you think this is going to change the landscape forever for how real estate investing is going to be done for the next 25 years?
Absolutely. Thanks, Rich. You guys can hear me okay? Good stuff. Listen, this is going to save a ton of time. I mean, I can't tell you the number of countless hours I've spent analyzing properties after properties, doing the searches, trying to figure out if there's a separate entrance or this or that, and trying to get it to fit my criteria. On average, it would take me about 2 to 3 hours per property to do that. I no longer have to do that anymore. Now I can actually compare the best deals to buy. What John has created at Confidence and what Gary provides is finding the money. I've now 10x'd my portfolio in a way that I can find, prepare, put out, even offer to friends and family as a realtor opportunities 10 times as fast. So I've literally 10x my business in that way. Even for my personal life, the same thing. I can look at properties in such a short period of time using John's tool. And guys, if you ever want to use the tool, we could probably do a part 2 on this to go through it. But I mean, when you go do the trial, you sign up, get access to it, you can play with it. There's another link that you can actually, test it out before you buy. realestatewealthlab.com/air, oddly enough. We'll put that in the chat so you can actually just go play with it yourself. But this conversation has been about saving time. Who wouldn't mind buying back a little bit of time to do the things that you love? I know I would. And that's what this does for me. And that's why I love it so much. And I'm super, super proud to partner with John and Gary about moving this a lot faster for people and less mistakes, less wondering, is that the real rental rate? I mean, what they've been able to create with finding, pulling that data in and compartmentalizing it and then displaying it in such a way, then asking AI, how is the market? Show me comps at the touch of a button. I can't tell you how much stress and time I've been able to buy back. So
I love it.
That's it, man.
I love it. I love it. And so, folks, 2 quick things. First of all, if you've gotten some value, if you've gotten some excitement, if this just moved the needle a little bit for you and you just joined us for an hour and you said, heck, for what it's worth, so delightful to have spent time with like-minded people who are just as good looking as me. If you agree with that, just put some love there in the chat room. Give us a thumbs up, give us some fire, give us a bowling pin and or maybe shooting arrows. Let the speakers know that their time was well vested with people who appreciate their time, their effort, their energy, their brilliance, their intelligence, and the opportunity of doing more. We appreciate that. Let's give them some love. Put it in there. If you're driving, don't do that because then we don't want to be responsible for that. But Denise, always good for a flame. I appreciate you. What's up, Jay? I love that symbol, man. That emoji is the best. Steven, so good. Hey, good to see you, Steven. It's good to see Shripad in the house. Great to have you, Kim. Now, listen, as I said in short, this has all been an evening about introducing the 2 minds that are really futurizing the real estate investor game. We've been joined with John Asher and Gary Fuchs. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. We know that tonight has been about not artificial intelligence, digital intelligence, understanding that math is the new magic. And when you find the magic, thanks to Gary, we find the funds, we find the money. We know that this is performance over philosophy. We know that this need not be an existential conversation. It's a financial one. And most importantly, gone are the days of real estate investing and hoping it works, because thanks to confidence, this does work. Folks, this has been a Real Estate Wealth Lab event. We are so generous with our time because you're generous with yours. And most of all, we hope you got a return on that investment. We appreciate all the love. We're grateful for your time. Please try out the trial. It takes you 3 days to learn that you can grow consistently and predictably over the longest period of time you'll ever imagine. Go on in there. You see the link, copy it, paste it, put it back in your browser. And if you get a chance to let our team know that you appreciate tonight, we would appreciate that by you test driving. As Gary Fuchs in his closing words said, it's all about the touch. It's all about the touch. So 3 days of touch, nothing much. Come on in. Folks, thanks so much for being here. We'll look forward to doing a live event soon in person in Toronto. We're looking forward to doing that in Vancouver. We're looking forward to heading out to Alberta because REWLs been asked to drive the conversation on the future of real estate investing. And that starts with you. Be well, guys. Be great. But more important, above all else, be rich in the things that matter most to you. Thanks, John. Thanks, Gary. And to the REWL team, thank you. Good night. Be great. Stay rich.